Does anybody know? Okay, so once we get into the working doc, is there a way from the working doc to get into the profiles? Am I missing?
I think they're down below. This is like the whole slide deck is. So like, I guess we're doing
Oh,
slides 22 and 23, but it seems like we should also be doing 24.
I hear you. Okay.
Yeah, I think they
Possibly.
might have just pushed us back on accident. I think we should be 23, 24, 25, but I might be wrong.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think we might have, the slide numbers might be off.
I'm just reading the feedback.
Yeah, me too. Is everyone on relationship Raja?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Maybe we just need to find one more quote or one more compelling need.
Specific area in the compelling needs. Compelling needs. What does this user need?
Okay, so I guess the second need says they need data about that will help them create relationships, and they're suggesting that we give examples of what data would be needed.
So maybe we would say data from needs assessments, needs assessment surveys.
I can add that.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess what we're saying is we should get the data straight from the families, right? I mean, that we want family voice, I think is what we're trying to get at there.
Yeah.
I don't remember us writing this last week, this piece, but I remember the first need, but not the second one, but I don't know, it's been a week, a lot has happened.
Yeah,
so maybe we did.
I remember that one.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. And I think, right, I think we hadn't named it like we are now, but we knew that we wanted data. So a needs assessment is one way to get that. I mean, it probably, I don't know, I would say would be the easiest, right, to get it. I mean, I think having individual conversations with families would be fantastic, but I'm thinking that's a common practice for a needs assessment survey.
Yeah, and I think when we wrote that one line, we were trying to get at that second question there that says from assessment and accountability specifically. And we were trying to figure out a way, I guess, to answer that piece of the compelling need.
Yeah.
Would you all care if I added that quote as well? Since they're asking for more quotes.
Oh, I think that's the partnership piece. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make these all.
Oh, smaller.
Yeah. That work?
Yeah, that's good. And I don't know. I mean, I think leaving it needs assessment or talking about family voice, because we don't want to, there's lots of ways that can be tackled, and we don't want to be, I don't think, too prescriptive in this is the need. The need is to have data come straight from the family voice. How they accomplish that can be done lots of different ways.
I would agree.
So do we want to move on to on the radar array?
Sure.
Or wait, am I wrong on that? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was our other one.
Okay. That's interesting. That's a really interesting comment around. I think we were hoping that other profile doesn't exist, but it probably does. The one that ignores culture and families and teachers.
Is that helpful to create at this point if we're trying to set examples of what we're going for, or?
So I guess is the idea to capture from the listening tours and from the interviews what was actually present there, or are we saying, you know what I mean? Because I don't saw what they're asking for. I saw that in what we reviewed.
That's
Or
a
like
really good question.
current state versus future state. So what is it? Where are we currently and where do we want to head? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't remember, to your point, Tanisha, I don't remember reading anything around quotes that were more negative, or maybe I'm categorizing those as negative, but
Yeah, you can just leave those there. Thank you.
I mean, I think even the quotes for Ray are not necessarily, I mean, I don't think it's positive. I just think it's a realistic portrayal of, his opinions around testing or how administrators often feel for testing, but I don't necessarily, I don't think we need to just create someone who's negative when it wasn't there.
yeah, I
I
agree.
agree. I feel like we should only be creating profiles from the data that we received, from the feedback we received.
So can we disagree that we disagree with this feedback?
But hold on, is there something in there that we could, so one comment more needed, some mechanism more specific? There is an undertone in the reference quote that the system in practice was score focused. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. So maybe let's take a look at important insights and see if there's anything we can develop more in that category.
In the end, as a principal, I'm just feeling like this person is searching for a way outside of K-Prep to measure growth, kind of like where we have MAP. So a lot of schools will use, common formative assessment checks. It sounds like this person's looking for some kind of reliable tool to help them inside the K-Prep time frame to kind of make sure that they're not getting lost without feedback year to year. So maybe we just, instead of some mechanism, maybe we say an assessment tool.
Yeah, or assessment tool, assessment practices, but
Yeah. Mhm. I'm new to Kentucky and we had no standardized testing in regards to K-Prep. What does KCCT mean? The KCCT test?
It's our
That's
old-
old
Go-
K-Prep. Yeah, it's just K-Prep from like 2007 and earlier.
Okay.
So it's just the state
Okay.
assessment system
Okay.
prior to K-Prep.
Okay.
Somebody's showing their age here.
Yeah.
That is true. Ask me what cats was. Yeah, cat.
Golly, I'll never forget that.
So do we feel good about on the radar, Ray? And do we add maybe a comment to the comment and the feedback in green that we didn't find any, comments that would kind of illustrate,
Well, and maybe that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, when it says profile of administrator who's not open to teacher and family feedback, who doesn't prioritize school culture, that may have come more from the family side. Or, I mean, when we were doing these, I think last time I was looking mostly at quotes from school leaders, or looking at it from those profiles. But I guess it's possible that if we went back and looked through all the family quotes about potential negative experiences, that profile might have bubbled up. But I wasn't looking at it from that perspective originally. I don't think I really dove into those family ones.
Yeah, and we also, I remember us talking last week too, just about how they are not categorized. You have to really kind of glean whether this was a school leader or a teacher, or like it wasn't clearly stated.
Yeah, on the listening tour. Because right, on our Padlet, those were all profiles I thought from a school leader profiles, but
Right, but the
on
listening
the
tour,
listening tour, you couldn't tell.
yeah.
Well, like Dr. Glass said, we need to listen. If we're going to form the perspective and experiences of this person, then we shouldn't switch voices. So I feel good with on the radar, Ray.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have to be it would need to be a whole different profile built from other sources.
Through the Padlet quotes, and I still don't see anything, because I'm thinking I very easily could have overlooked it. But I still don't see anything that would represent the perspective that's mentioned in that feedback.
No, it's definitely a student or parent perspective.
That's what I think.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I have to do dismissal right now for our summer program, so I will be back.
No worries.
I hope I can. I'll hope I'm back. I should be back in 13 minutes. I don't want to be that whole like still recording. Donnie's like, turn it off. All right, I'm gonna just mute myself.
Are we done with our part?
Do we have so on slide 25? I think we're done with on the radar, Ray. To me, I think we're in good shape there. But on slide 25, Are we supposed to be doing that as well? Or is
It
that
does-
what the roll-alike groups are doing?
Yeah, it does not. It just said, let's see, determine whether to change each profile or not. So your goal is just to revise and then approve them today.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So task 3 is the storylines. So that's the yellow slide. I was jumping ahead. So that's what we're doing with the roll-alike next.
So I might take a little break here for a second. So I will see you all soon.
Okay, see you back later. And I know they said to take a look at the quotes from the Spanish speaking tour. Do you see that link anywhere?
I don't, let me see. I clicked on the listening tour one, but
Yeah, that's the one I was on. I was thinking maybe it was linked there.
yeah, but I don't see that.
And I'm assuming it's being translated because I don't actually read Spanish.
I'm hoping, yes, me neither.
I know just enough to be dangerous.
Oh, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I've been keeping notes. If I send this I have the link from a previous meeting. If I send this in the chat, will it go to the whole group?
I think it just goes to the people in
the breakout.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try. So I just sent the Spanish language notes.
Okay, got it.
Although these are also probably likely to be students and families rather than school leaders.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm assuming, but
And I do think they said that is probably more important to those groups than our group.
a good idea to be thorough. Well, and they said some would be quicker than others. We didn't have a whole lot of feedback.
Hello, everyone. Hi. So I'd urge you to take a look at slide 7, which is the school leader team, and just take a quick look at the tasks there. They're all very similar, but some of them are worded in particular for your group.
I might be wrong, Paul, but for me, it's slide 8.
I'm sorry, slide 8.
I just wanted to make sure.
You're right, I'm sorry, slide 8.
So then for school leaders, Am I understanding correctly? There are only 2 profiles for school leaders?
That's correct. There are only 2 profiles. Partially, this is because you were initially, when you did the empathy interviews, you were asked to particularly interview family members. And so we didn't get as much information in the interviews for school leaders. And so last week, people actually created profiles of school leaders coming from other data like the listening tour data, but only 2 were created. So if you go to those 2, 23 and 24, want to take a look at those. One of the things that is has been raised, I'll just leave you with this.
We're 26 and 27,
Okay, 26 and 27.
right? School leader.
Mine says 23 and 24.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back then. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Got it? Okay, so relationship Raja and on the radar Ray. And so the questions you want to ask yourself is, do these folks look like school leaders that you may recognize? Maybe they're not any particular person, but are they close to what a perspective of a school leader? And is there anybody missing? And there certainly will be folks missing, but is there a voice that's so strong among school leaders that's not here that you want to construct another profile? You could go back into the Padlets that are at the top of each one. So on the radar, Ray 24 is in Padlet 4, and relationship Raja came from the listening tour. So you could construct another one, but first off, I take a look at these 2 and see whether you have a sense that they are recognizable from your perspective, and have a discussion and vote on that. We really ask that you do actually vote as a group. And if you don't feel like they are recognizable, that you want to make a change, you can also go back and change either the quotes, or you can rewrite the compelling needs or important insights. That's another approach that you can take. Knowing, however, that other groups have already worked on these. So try to get a sense as to whether you can agree with what others have put together here. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm wondering, so kind of, can you give us some guidance on if we do feel like there's, perspective or something that's missing, but we're not actually seeing, that information or those in the Padlet or in the listening tour? Should we somehow note that? But
you could note down below in the notes. If you see in the quotes that something isn't discussed in the needs or the insights, you could change the notes or the compelling needs or the insights.
okay.
For the quotes, you really need to find a quote that makes the case that you're looking for. Otherwise, you're kind of putting your own spin on it, right? Does that make
Right.
sense? Yeah. We're trying to make this comply with the data that's out there. We have a fair amount of data here, right? The other thing to take into consideration is those green boxes, as you probably figured out last time. Those are the comments from people reviewing this work over the weekend. So you can also take that into consideration as a direction to take.
And that's kind of what I was looking at, because it says on slide 24 in the green box, it says, where's a profile of an administrator who is not open to teacher and or family feedback? But in the Padlet and in the listening tour, I just didn't see any quotes that really speak to that. So I felt like exactly what you just said, if I added something at this point, I'm going to be adding just our input as opposed to really being able to say that that was a voice that was missing.
Right, and so what you could do, if you can't find any quotes that match that, but you feel strongly that it's a missing perspective, you could put it down in the speaker notes of the slide. Say, we feel that there is a missing profile here with an important need or compelling insight. We just haven't found any quotes that reference it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry that this is a little complicated in terms of process, but we're trying to put a number of different things together all at once, right? So it just by nature, there is some complexity to it. Has everybody had a chance to read them? Let's focus in on 23. Do folks feel like 23 is good as it is, or would you like to make changes to it? Or is there something that is not working for you in it?
We actually, Phoenicia and I worked on this one with our group, and we ended up adding some quotes that we thought kind of made Raja make a little bit more sense in terms of the family needs. And we also took from the Spanish listening tour and added that here. So I feel confident based on the feedback we got in the green box and the work that our group did that that Raj is ready to go. I think on the radar Ray is one I'm more iffy about.
Well, let's see if we can get to some agreement on Raja then, since there has been a fair amount of work on Raja, and it looks like it was even improved based on what Tara just shared with us. Are folks ready to vote on Raja?
Yes.
So out of 5, how many folks feel Raja should go forward as a school leader? Phoenicia, I think you're our remaining you haven't voted yet.
Sorry.
Okay, I think you've got agreement here that voted to include. Okay, let's look at so if you don't mind, Tara, I'd call on you. You said you had some concerns about Radar Ray, on the Radar Ray. Maybe you could speak to that.
I don't know if it's concerns as much as kind of what Phoenicia brought up. The feedback that we got from a user or from one of the in the green box, I'll just be clear, was that
Yep.
maybe we're missing something. So what we did was, instead of saying some mechanism, we said that obviously Ray believes that accountability is important, but he's struggling with the lack of feedback in between K-preps. So one of our recommendations for him was to increase the use of assessment tools and practices kind of during that school year. So it's not so much that I disagree that Ray should go on. I think Ray is actually probably a solid administrative perspective. I think my question, kind of like Phoenicia had, was maybe he is a key to let us know that we're missing something else here too. So I think Ray is a good perspective as an administrator. I think we all can agree that we think K-prep is one form of accountability, and there needs to be so much more in between to give us information. But I just, just throwing it out there, is Ray, are we missing something here? And our group kind of came to the conclusion that we don't think we are, but we're not positive.
But you did make that change in important insights, which you feel
Yeah.
makes it a little bit more, address some of the concern that was there, right?
Yes.
How about others? How do you feel about on the radar, Ray?
I would agree with Tara. I do feel like it's a solid profile, meaning just in conversations with other school leaders and actually seeing some of those concerns voiced, and then also seeing it very clearly in different quotes in the listening tour and on the Padlet. So I do feel like it's representative of what we saw in the quotes that were available.
Thank you, Phoenicia. Dr. Gamble, I saw you.
Yes, I
acknowledging it.
concur.
Okay, that sounds like they've got three. How about Julie or Michelle? What do you think? I don't know if is Jennifer with us. I'm not sure.
Sorry, I was muted. No, I really, really do like this perspective because I think it is a common thread that's been in a lot of administrative meetings that I've been in. I was just rereading it. At first, it seemed a little generic to me. I don't know why, but kind of rereading it and listening to what Tara was adding, for some reason that insight, I didn't read it as meaning like progress monitoring in between K-prep assessments or those final state assessments. So I don't know, like a quick read, I didn't read it exactly like it was explained. So I was kind of going back to make sure that that would be clear to any reader.
Could we add that into the insight?
Yeah, Julie, do you feel like there's something that we could add to it to make that more clear?
Maybe ongoing progress monitoring of student learning or intermittent progress monitoring.
Great.
Throughout the school year? Does that need to be said? Because I don't want that to be thinking like just yearly.
Absolutely. And do we need to say something about that would be communicated to families or shared with stakeholders, or, that just because we're gathering it, we're not just keeping it, we are sharing it with interested parties? I'm not sure, that might be one step too far, but I know that timing and communication seem to be
The feedback piece.
Yeah, I added those. Does that look good?
I'll flip back over.
And I'll just add, in our group, so we worked on some for district leaders, and there was a lot of commonality. We actually pulled a couple of the same quotes that you did for this profile to talk about just that we need more type of feedback, the quote about the feedback, and that, KCCT gave us more of that, whereas K-prep doesn't. And so we kind of even took that piece to the next level. So there is another profile that kind of bounces off of this one.
Right, and if we can get a vote on this one, I would actually urge you to take a look at the district profiles because there are some similarities. Are you folks ready to vote on the radar, Ray? Looks like we have some degree of consensus. out of 5. Okay, we got a consensus on the radar ray. I'd urge you now to take a quick look at the district ones, which are the next, I believe it's the next group, right? Nope, that's family, isn't it? Sorry.
They are 38, 39, and 40.
Okay, very good. Take a look at 38, 39, and 40 just quickly and see if that causes any additional thoughts for you.
I think board member Brad sounds a lot like our Raja.
Yeah, and I would definitely add a system that's, it says ranking and sorting, but a system that's out to catch you. That whole system of accountability and the idea, like, what's the effectiveness of truly just removing the principal? Has that shown any true positive effects by removing the principal because the test score went down?
Okay, folks, I think we're going to go back in. We probably didn't have enough time to take on this additional task, but thank you for working on the couple and school leaders.
Welcome as we're making our way back. So I'm going to give directions for this second round of work and roll light groups. And I hope that you and your team can transition into those. We're going to have about 15 minutes for you to work on this next round of work. Let me again share my screen real quickly. And I think I'm just going to leave this here rather than go into presentation mode so you can just see. So headed back into our role of light groups. Hopefully you're making good friends there and having a nice time in your role of light groups. We're going to continue working together, and we're shifting our focus now to looking back in the Padlets, which is where we originally collected quotes. And if you're in the family team, we also want you to look closely at the Spanish speaking listening tour, because most of those quotes are from families. And see if you want to add things to your profiles, or just to make note of what you do with quotes that haven't made their way into profiles. So there's a very specific set of questions in the working document that you'll see when you get in there, but I'll just read them out so that you know exactly what you're up to. So when you're in there and you look at a quote, let's say you go in and you enter the Padlet associated with your profile, and you see that there's a quote there that wasn't included. We want you to check and see if that story or feeling is already represented. Again, sometimes these quotes just are on such a similar theme that that's already been covered. If that's the case, don't do anything. Just leave it there in the Padlet and that's fine. If that's not the case, and you're like, gosh, this isn't really covered, then you need to evaluate, was it not included because it just like doesn't illustrate a compelling need? There's just sort of not enough there. If so, also just leave it in the Padlet. That's fine too. However, if you find a quote that is not like duplicative of others and not just, not sufficiently illustrative of a compelling need, but just is different. It just like didn't fit with the others, but it's compelling and it's important. On slide 44 of our working deck, which is just the very last slide, we want you to copy that quote onto that slide. And we are going to do work of either building profiles around those or reaching back out to you to figure out how to do that. But we want to make sure that if you see a quote in there that you think is important, we don't just lose it today. So slide 44 is the place to put those quotes. Okay, we've got 15 minutes. I know the timing just always feels hard, but I'm going to send you off into groups, back into these roll-alike groups to go through that process. And again, the directions are in the slides. If you head to slide 10 in the working deck, you're going to see the very detailed directions for this. Slide 10 in the working deck. And slide 11 in the working deck helps you know which slides to go look at if you didn't know that already. Okay. All right, Lauren, let's head back out. And again, if you're there and it's not making sense, pop back out to the main group and we'll try to help. Okay, let's go.
Is everybody good about what we're doing here? Just want to check. The idea is to go back into those quotes at the end, and you can also go in the Padlet and the listening tour to see if anything is missing.
Hi, everybody. I hate to be the one who's like, what are we doing right now? But everyone is finally safe on buses. What are you guys looking at?
So we are right now going back to the Padlet and the listening tour and the quotes to see if there are any that are not included. And then if they're not included, but we feel like it's important for a profile to be built around it, we need to paste that quote. I think it's on slide 44 and
Okay.
basically give a rationale for why we believe that that's important.
For community member storylines or 41 district leader storylines.
The one that says school leader, let's see.
Okay, yeah, I think 41. All right. Thanks, Venetia. Appreciate it. Okay. Oh, there's one on 25.
And the actual directions that they gave us are on slide 10, if you want to be able to see.
Got it. Oh, yeah. I feel like everyone and their brothers on this one.
On the listening tour quotes, there is one under standardized testing, but I'm not sure it's from a school leader. But it says standardized testing is only showing one point in time. By the time you get the data, you're halfway into the next year. Standardized test data is just punitive to the school. And
Yeah, I'll just say, it doesn't necessarily have to come from a school leader. If it's something that resonates for something as something a school leader might say, you can use it anyway.
So I was just wondering in terms of our on the radar array, I don't know if that fits well, what you all think about that, or if that's one that we.
Where, sorry, Phoenicia, what was the quote again?
I'm on the listening tour data. It's on page 6 and the
Okay.
theme is standardized testing. And
Okay.
it's the last quote there.
Last one.
It's the second to last quote, right? Standardized
Mm.
testing is only
Yes.
showing one point in time. By the time you get the data, you're halfway to the next year. Boy, if I haven't heard principals say that over the years.
Yeah. I feel like that could certainly come from a school leader.
So what you can do is you could put that in and note it as a school leader potential quote on that last slide in the working deck.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to add it to any of your current profiles,
Okay.
but by putting it in there, it flags it and we can make use of it.
I don't see anything else to you guys.
I didn't.
Director Jacobs, did you copy?
Well, I would just say that a lot of the quotes here are not school leader focused, right? A lot of them are family and student focused or teacher focused. So I'm not surprised that you're not picking more out. It's not necessary that they're there and you're just not seeing them. They may just not be there.
Is it slides 34 and 35? Is that right?
Yes.
So it looks like 34 is in good shape. Is that what you are seeing as well?
Yes.
Thirty-five has a survey error. Now, are we Family Coalition members?
No.
Okay, sorry. So our next steps to look at the Spanish speaking listening tour data.
I'm not seeing anything, are y'all?
Anything to change?
Right.
No.
No, on one of the slides, were we missing, like insights? I'm sorry, like I had a call and I got distracted, like important insights. We don't have anything, is that slide? Which one am I on? It's Adriana, the advocate.
I think they look good. And that one, it appears like they're ready for the family to read that one. The second one is kind of how I took their note. And then looking back,
Okay.
I know that you picked out one of the things from the Spanish tour last week and added to one of our slides.
Mhm.
We're 34 and 35 only.
Oh, I went too far. I'm sorry. I think I worked on that advocate in another group at one point. It was familiar to me.
Yes, it does look like it is missing the insights though.
Yeah. But it says it was approved, so I don't know, but I don't guess that's our responsibility.
I'll stop recording then. If we don't have anything.
So
Well,
I'd urge you to try one out. 26, for example, might be one you could come to agreement on a little more easily than with distrustful Donna.
poor Donna. We like you, Donna. We do. It's just you're difficult.
Kind of whiny.
Okay, so Bridget,
I think, did Bridget just leave us?
did she?
I think she might have.
Oh, that was rude.
That's what I said.
Okay.
I think she got bumped out, actually. It looked like
Oh, okay.
she might have lost her connection.
Okay, so Christina, what are your thoughts?
Well, hi, everyone. Well, so this is the first time I joined the meeting, actually, so I'm not so familiarized yet with all the profiles. So I don't want to put all this work behind. So maybe I can just take a look. That's what I'm doing, taking a look to the profiles, and maybe I can give some input on it. But that's my case around here.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wait, no, that's not one of ours. 29 is our last one, right? Yeah. So this says this should be combined with family profile 2. 1 fist vote here. Communication, relationship building need to be a priority from preschool through high school. Do we have any quotes from high school families? Well, I mean, we'll go with the quotes that we have, right? So the quotes here speak to the compelling needs. Parent needs clear, specific information about the child's progress. This parent needs to be reached out to in a way that this green box is killing me. It's just moving and now I can't read because it's over my text. Clear, specific there it is. Clear, specific communication when things are going well in the mode families use frequently builds trust. When I went through this again, I really felt that this one was, this could be used. It says profile number 2. I'm not sure what that is on the slide. Is that 28?
Are you on slide 28?
I was on 29 reading updated UMA, but some of the information says move to profile 2. I thought this was pretty encompassing. This is the one that CIE created, right?
Correct.
And it was very detailed. The quotes were okay. If anything, I thought maybe included. Where'd she go? Okay, so I like UMA. UMA can go in 26, couldn't she?
And why do you think that, Penny? Why do you think Uma could go on 26?
Well, if we're talking, no, and I'm on Fred. I'm sorry, I hit the dog on. You know what? This thing is very sensitive. Parent needs clear, specific information about their child's progress. Parents need to be reached out to. So if we go back to 26, the compelling needs are a parent has an overarching need for two-way communication between the school and the parent. Educators need to provide useful information, right? And those are similar compelling needs, I would say. Information he can trust to tell him what and how well his child is doing.
So
Agreed.
Penny is recommending that the group merge 29 and 26. Now, given the amount of time left, you probably don't have time to do it, but you can write down at the bottom, merge 29 with 26. I would like to suggest that we have a vote about this. If everyone has looked at 26 and 29, and raise your hands, and 5 if you agree. If you don't agree, do a fist. And if you're kind of wavery, do 2, 3, or 4 fingers. We'll vote 1, 2, 3. What's your vote?
To be wavery.
Well, no, Matt is too. That's fine.
I'll say 4.
Okay, I got a 4. 2 4s and 2
I say
3s.
4 too. Yeah.
And you, Penny, how about you?
Oh, I was fine. Sorry.
Okay, so based on the voting, that would mean that you folks are recommending the move, because you don't have anybody who's saying they're blocking the move for any particular reason, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna just down below on 29, I'm just gonna write merge with 26.
Okay.
Okay, look at 28 now.
Yeah.
And decide whether you think it should be as it is or make any changes.
How much time we have left?
Like 5.
I say leave it alone then. Sorry.
You also have 27, but I'm staying away from that because I think there's some disagreement. Let's
Well,
see
no,
if
and
we
that's
can-
Donna, right? And if we look at Donna, it says this parent needs reliable contact regarding how her student is doing and a conversation as to how he might succeed. If we go back to 20, where were we? 29, is that what you said? No, 28. Parent would like the educators in her student's school to see her as a partner in supporting the child's learning. This requires an ongoing dialogue with the school as to how she can support her students' learning, seeks regular opportunities to give and receive feedback. She would also like to see communication that they meet people where they are. If we go with what Bridget said, and she's right in terms of how athletes are utilizing education, we don't have anything, at least in these profiles, that would work with, transition or anything like that. None of these fits into that category.
Yeah,
But
and I think that's an important distinction, Penny,
Yes.
as I'm trying to catch up, and I apologize for the.
No, you're
catching
fine.
up.
No.
But
But
I
no.
do think it's an important distinction to think about the point in education that some of these profiles are referencing. So the college transition one or the post-secondary transition one, I think I would almost maybe go back with Uma and Donna and say, I do think they need to be separate because I don't see that same distinction in those two.
No.
Even if maybe a trust issue is common.
So for 26, well, I guess for 26 and 29, well, we can just say not to, that what you said, Paul, we need to be specific in saying we're not including distrustful Donna, right? So do we need to make that note as well?
Well, it'll keep showing up until you make a
Okay.
decision. If you
I just
say
think,
include distrustful Donna, then you can include her. If you say don't include her, then
yeah,
she won't be included.
I just think we need to exclude her for now. I think she's an outlier, right? At least as far as the quotes that we have and these classifications that we have, not that her situation doesn't matter, just that it doesn't fall in and what her needs are.
I agree with you.
Penny, do you, Bridget is suggesting that she may be be somebody who stands on her own as her own profile. What
Yeah.
about that as an option?
Yes, absolutely. If we can do that, yes.
Yep. So distrustful Donna. It looks like we may have a consensus
Yep.
around distrustful Donna staying on her own. How many
Mhm.
folks agree to keep Donna on her own and keep her? Matt, you have a vote?
We can't get rid of her
I
though,
think
right?
that's me. That's gonna go away now. Okay.
Matt, you gonna vote?
I'll go 4.
Okay.
Go 4.
So we're gonna keep distrustful Donna as she is, right?
Okay. Yep.
It's high stakes.
I'm sorry to push you here, but
Oh, it's fine. No, please. Yes.
So 28 is the one you haven't. Frustrated Fred. Are you in a place where you can make a decision about frustrated Fred?
I don't even remember Fred from last time. Is that sad?
I don't remember him either.
Yeah.
Did I see Fred in on us? I think he just snuck in.
I'm in this alone right now. This is not a direct person to contact or email. I just don't remember seeing him.
Though the name was changed. Look down below.
Uh,
It was changed from a.
That's okay, because that last quote, my daughter in 2nd grade, that sounded familiar. Okay. What else is she supposed to? This requires an ongoing dialogue with the school as to how she can support her students' learning. She would also like to see communication. Okay, so we had one that was clear communications. Would that be under, would that go with Alan and Steve? Because if we said group 6 parent, merging Alan and Steve together, overarching need for two-way communication and STEAM.
yeah,
So you're recommending that frustrated Fred could be combined with, that's 28, could be combined with 26, Alan and Steve.
Well, if we look at the compelling needs, educators and her students in school to see her as, well, I read that, would also like to see communication that meet people where they are, seeks regular opportunities to give and receive feedback. I'm seeing that
It's communication. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's similar enough. I'm going to go full 5 on that one.
Full 5. Oh, 1 minute. Okay. Okay.
I just smacked
Okay.
the screen.
Okay.
Looks like we have agreement.
Yeah.
Combine 26 and 28, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you folks have actually done it.
With 45 seconds to spare. No pressure.
I feel like getting pretty good about that.
That was not too bad. Woof. Okay, it was stressful.
Thank you, mission control.
Right. Thank you, Paul. Yeah. You know, I mean, this is some high, you know, Bridget joked when she said high stakes, but this is high stakes. It really is. When we think about how we're impacting kids at the end of the day, right? And we don't want to minimize anyone's voice.
That's right.
So, right. So this is hard. I need wine. I mean, water. I need water. I meant water.
Cheers, Penny.
It's water.
Which team are we?
We are group 2, Nora. It's
Like on this slide, to test.
yeah.
Family team, student team.
Hold on just a second. Let me go back to the.
Oh, Hannah.
So that slide 4 tells us that we're group 2 slide 16 and also 28.
Okay.
So
So start with 16 and then go to 28. Can everybody see the slides? How's everyone doing? Looks, hi, Jack. You're in Murray with me. And so, okay. Sorry, I got distracted real quick. Let's go to slide 16 real quick. I lost it. Do you want to share it for us, David, or just
yeah,
in
let me do that. Hold on
might
just a
be
second.
Isn't
easier?
it slide 17? Or
Well, that's a good question, because slide 17 was the profile we created, but they've told us to go. Let me check. Let me make it.
And our group is a little bit different. I think it's all students and me. Am I
Right.
wrong? I know
No.
Jack is, Sergio. Is everybody else students?
Yeah, Lou isn't with us this week, so she's the other person that's missing from
Okay.
the group, and I'm not really here in terms of being a member of the coalition. I'm just here trying to help facilitate. And let me, I'm going to go out and check and see if I can.
We're to 16 and also 28. It does say 16. What is 16? It's a student slide. Do they want us to look at both student slides?
I'm going to I invited a host to come into the room.
Thank you.
To see if we can.
And 28 is a family one. Yeah, it's our names right there too. So unless I just typed the wrong number.
Yeah, because slide 17 isn't anywhere in the on that.
That's a good point. Maybe they meant 16 and 17, the two student slides, and then look at the family one. I don't know. 15, 16, 18, 20.
Right, let's see. I asked for help. I think that's what I did.
Group 7 plus one quote from group 11. And there's a little green on 17. I made it big so I could read what it said. It's like a little green approved. Are we not looking at the ones that are approved maybe? Because our group did approve it at the end.
Oh, okay. So
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Now that makes sense. So
I couldn't read it.
I guess that's why they're giving us 16 to look at, because we've already done the approval on 17. Okay. Now I understand.
Yeah, and there was nobody that didn't. We didn't have anything else we wanted to change, so we really don't need to go back to that one probably. So if you want to share hands on Harry, we'll start there unless they come in and tell us otherwise.
Yeah, I can tell them when they come in that we think we figured it out. So if we look at slide 16,
Hands on Harry. I like his name.
Yeah, sounds like he really wants to be a PBL kid. Project-based learning kid. I love this profile. I mean, I love that we have a profile in this for that's, you know, a kid who learns best by demonstrating with his hands.
Yeah, and that second, I would love, we are not into that in Callaway, but I would love to know the facts on, like it says, they might not have as high of ACT scores, but I know our neighboring county, I think there's somebody on the task force from Marshall County, and they do a lot with project-based learning. I've not heard that their ACT scores are lower, but that's a quote from a parent or teacher, I wonder. Oh,
So I'm still a little confused what the task, let's see.
so in middle school, they are only offered English, math, science, and social studies. We had a lot more PE and music we had too, but we had language, and it's not everywhere. We had art and different options. So it says the profile was unfinished. They broke the compelling need into two parts. And they took a stab at the two insights. So I think they just need some feedback from us. Is what I'm
I think
saying.
they want us to see if there are any like small edits that need to be made based on
Yeah.
slide 3. So I think both 16 and 17 said that all users voted to approve.
Yeah.
So unless there's something that any of us need to change, then I think we should probably move on to 28, where there's a lot of comments that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Did everybody get a chance to vote? Did we vote on that side? I don't remember reading it.
We didn't, but I think what Arnav is saying is that that the previous groups, everybody's looked at this slide. That's what that green box at the bottom of the slide is saying. So
Okay.
unless we have something different, if our look at it, if somebody wants to sort of argue against approving it, we would do that. But otherwise, I think he's right. I think we need to move on to slide 28 and see, because it does have.
Yeah. Want to just do the fist to 5 to make sure we're all in it. Everybody's voice is heard.
Okay, we can
go
certainly
ahead.
do that. Everybody, how are you on approval of that slide 16? Looks like we're
5.
Yeah,
Okay.
looks like we're good.
We're good. Go to 28.
Okay, so on 28, there are several, the green box. So it says that this, first of all, in the yellow box, it says this is a combination of two profiles.
Uninformed Ursula. Reach me, Rhonda.
This is an example of a continuing trend of parents craving effective communication. So I don't know what you guys are seeing in the green box. It sounds to me like the comments that were left where they wanted to change the name of this. In the last bullet, it talks about frustrated Fred. Because uninformed Ursula sort of sounds like this person doesn't know anything about their child, but this profile feels more like it's that they don't feel listened to, not that they're not. What do you guys think? What are you seeing on the?
It sounds like they would like to know more to me.
Right, so that doesn't mean that they're, I think that's a little bit confusing to say uninformed, because I don't think it's that they're uninformed. I think they're frustrated.
Even the reach me Rhonda doesn't fit.
Right.
Maybe yearning to be part of the team. I don't know. Something silly like that. Like they want to be a team player too. They're not just in the stands watching.
So I think what our job is on 28 is to decide if we feel the need to change anything in that profile. And my recommendation would be we take the advice of this comment, the last comment in the green box, and change the name of this profile to frustrated Fred or
Is there anything else under the green box? Is what we see all there is?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Clear specific. Oh, I got on the wrong slide. Oh, grade reports do not provide.
I think it's a good profile, and it does represent a parent who wants to be involved but doesn't seem to be connecting to the district. And so
As a teacher, usually when some kind of issue arises, it is due to a lack of communication, whether I as a teacher did not get it to them in a proper manner, or the district or whoever. So, and it is usually easily fixed once that information that they want anyway is just given to them. So definitely
right.
Frustrated, what they call him, Fred.
Yeah, they called him frustrated Fred. How does everyone feel about changing the name?
I agree.
Me too.
I agree.
So let's do our fist of five. We are fives on that, right? Okay. So I'm gonna go in here and can't see anything. There we go. Okay. And I don't know how we I guess we could put it in the comments that we group 2. Okay. Do you guys, is that the only, are there other changes, I guess is the question for that profile, or do you like what the profile is doing and we just needed to clear up what we're going to call that profile? Does anybody have any comments about?
There was that one comment that said, to make it sound less like accuracy seeking Alan, the user profile should focus on grading and feedback.
Okay, yep.
That I think was another user profile. Like it was one of the other slides. It was slide 26.
Okay.
So if we want to like compare the two and see if they're different enough or if there's something that we need to change about 28.
I do think that this one, to your point, Arnav, is seems to be mostly about academics, like grading and this frustrated Fred seems to be understanding what she's supposed to be doing in class and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that they're different enough.
Yeah.
To me, even though it's grading, they want it often before they get the grade report, I think.
Yeah, I think this sounds very, you know, some of this, which I can imagine a lot of these comments during the listening tour were very COVID related. You know, it was parents who may be frustrated at a time when in a normal school situation, they wouldn't be as frustrated, but they haven't had the connection they've needed with their kid trying to do work at home. And so I don't know what, do you guys remember? I mean, do we need to say group 2 approves slide 28, or is it just that we fixed that particular piece of it? And because when I go back to our instructions, it just says up here, determine whether to change or not change each profile, approve or revise and approve all profiles that they may be given to coalition members of that type for final consideration later today.
We revised it a little bit. I say now we need to approve it.
Yeah, I think we need to approve it. I guess what I need, we can put it in the, also in the comments.
Yeah.
But there's no place for us to say, like, there's not a box for us to check approve or not. So, all right. So you guys, what are your votes on approving this profile, frustrated Fred?
5, approve.
Okay. Hey, Tony.
Hey, I'm just jumping
Just
around.
kind of
and
jumping around listening.
Yeah, just listening.
Okay. Well, we've actually just finished our work. We did a little work on one of the profiles and reapproved it as our little group. Our almost completely student group last week.
I say you lucked out here. You got
Yeah,
we got
a
some
great
students.
Yeah.
There was a little note if we wanted to add any of the Spanish tour comments. So since we have 7 minutes, do we want to look at that?
Sure, we can do that.
It was really interesting. I didn't go in specifically looking to add any, but
yeah, I was gonna say I didn't look at the notes, but I actually participated in that. Being, you know, we had an interpreter in our ear, and the perspective was quite different. And I think, Nora, you attended several of our sessions, you know, and it was different. It was different, kind of the same, but different with some of the concerns. So I'm hoping that a lot of people will look at the notes and kind of and maybe grab something from that different perspective.
Was that just on the email, or was it in chat too? I think it was on the email.
Yeah, where was the
I think the very last email we got today, it was attached. I can find it. This one maybe. It's meeting 4. Oh, I think I got it. I can put it in the, let's see, share. Copy the link. I'll put it in the chat. See if that'll work. Should.
yes.
Okay. In Western Kentucky, this has been an ongoing need, as we just have a lot of Spanish-speaking families. We have not just Spanish-speaking, we have lots of different languages with Murray State right here that come to the campus to learn and bring their families with them. So I'm thrilled that this was an option.
So I don't know, based on the profile that we had. Let's see.
That very first one we had, we talked a little bit about culture. I don't know if learning the history of my country from a different perspective. I don't know. That might be pushing.
Right. I'm just looking at this frustrated Fred one that we've been working
Oh, yeah.
on just now. Obviously, it's not directly that this person would be someone who, this is an academic situation in general. It doesn't necessarily say anything about having problems with actually communicating because of language barriers, but
yeah,
which is what most of those comments were. A lot of them were about, the lack of relationship with people that look and sound like them.
That very last comment is pretty powerful. I think it's the last one.
That's actually it's in the document. So somebody's already put it in here.
Oh,
That's
I
in
didn't. I
that.
missed it.
Yeah, it's actually in the Spanish language. Let's see if I can find it again. I just read it. Yeah.
Yeah, Nora, I when they said that, I just got chills because we were so trying. I mean,
I sometimes think I'm going above and beyond being able to interpret or translate, but reading that makes me like, wow.
If you look down about a third or a half of the first page of the notes, where it starts, the theme starts to be family engagement. The second one of those is that last comment in our profile. Relationship should be more closely between schools and family. There should be partners. So that whoever worked on this first actually has already incorporated that particular comment into the profile. down to the end.
Students, are there any, I hate calling you guys students. What's a better name than student? Learners.
Learners.
But I want to be a chief something. Chief educator. No. Is there any other comments in here that as a student grabs you? Since we focused on students. It's all relationships fit all in there. These are actually pretty positive. I'm loving it. And there's so much you can do with language. It's not just about learning the language when you learn a language. I would love to know if it was a student or a grown-up or whatever. That sounds even worse. To improve communication between parents, students, and schools, it's critical to recruit and hire staff who sound and look like our students. I read that in one of them I approved, but I would love to know where that comment originated.
I think, Nora, that was the student actually from one of our moderators. I think it was, I think it was one of our students.
Listen a lot to conversations centered around that, and I love hearing directly from students myself.
Well, thank you all for your time today. We're getting ready to be kicked back.
Sergio, I tried to find your principal and write him a note, but I couldn't find him or her, so I didn't achieve that. I'm proud of all of you students for showing up today in every session.
I just heard the recording. I just want to make sure. Is someone, okay, good. I'm recording in my other group, so I was curious to know how that would work. So thank you.
We're starting to look at the teacher profiles now. I'm in the teacher group now, I'm guessing. Is that what we're doing? Keep losing my stuff. There it is.
So it may be beneficial. I'll read our question just so as we review these profiles, we can have it in mind. But they're asking, every grade, subject, school, and district provides a unique context. It would be impossible to create a set of user profiles across all of these contexts. Do these user profiles represent a commonality of experience? Do they also address how different identities inform their role as teachers? For example, research shows that teachers of color have a different experience in schools. Is that difference reflected here?
Okay.
Does someone have it up that they can share on the screen, or?
How's that look for you all?
That's better.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So what was the name of this one? Collaborative something?
Yes, this one is collaborative, Carla. So I was actually in the other group that worked on these three. So if you guys have any questions, I can, or like about why something is on here or whatever, I can answer those for you.
It's been changed a little bit. I think I read this last night and it was different.
Yeah.
Because in the middle, it didn't have teacher a lot, and now it does. I like that change.
Yeah, I think originally when we were going through it, it was a little confusing because these are all from a parent perspective, but it's for like a teacher profile. So yeah, we had to go back and rework those.
I think the issue here with this one is that it's just considered a best practice to communicate and collaborate with families as closely, and not all teachers do it. So when a kid moves through the education system, you know, and you hear it as a teacher all the time, like, oh, so-and-so never contacted last year, how are you going to contact? Or they did this and you use this. And it's just kind of like, as system goes, it's not cohesive. So like even inside of a building, it's different from grade to grade, teacher to teacher on how they collaborate, the policy for collaboration. And I think that firming that up within our buildings and then going out as to a greater system would help. And I think if there's some kind of protocol procedure on like, you know, when and how to do that and training for teachers, that would be helpful. But it does get overwhelming. I mean, when do you make that time to, you know, I think teacher time management is huge, because chances are these teachers did this after hours or in the morning, or, you know, and then what tools are best to reach out. There's just a million and one options now. So
I think that as a parent and a teacher too, I communicate more, but then I have teammates who turn it off at 3:30. So they might get some negative feedback for doing what's best for them. It's their in the best for their self-care and taking care of their own families. Mm-hmm. But then just because one teacher chooses to communicate with you at 5:30 when you get off work, it's not necessarily bad communication or a poor practice that another teacher is not, because we're not getting paid for that 5:30 time. But I as a parent know that sometimes if I don't get that answer, it's gonna eat me alive. So I'll take that 5:30 call. But how is that fair to the other teachers who are then being called into the principal's office because they never get the answer or whatever? You know what I mean? Because I see that a lot. I teach elementary, and in elementary compared to high school, because I have high school age students myself, they want the answer now. In high school, it can sometimes be tomorrow, or just as long as my child's telling me this, is that right? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think just thinking in terms of our teachers, like the voice of the teacher being represented here, that's what I would say would be the thing. When do we communicate? Are we allotted the time? How? What tools are more efficient? What, you know, how do we do, what's a school policy? What's a district policy? Things like that. I think teachers would argue or say, but what about?
So as it stands now, being, you know, in that teacher role, where is to 5, where would you place this as it is? for the teacher perspective.
I mean, I don't really know that teacher voice is heard here. This is a weird one.
I agree. It's more from the parent perspective than the teacher perspective, but it's about the teacher needs based on what the parent's perspective is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
I don't know. I would say that this one needs more work, like more teacher input.
It's a good start. We definitely need tools, time, permission, validation. That is a really good. And we probably do need guidance and support. We need an outline of best practices for our individual school for sure. In my grade, we are uniform, but then they're coming from kindergarten where it's different and second grade where it's different. So it's hard to have an expectation as a parent myself, because last year you had that teacher who did everything, and this year the teacher's more cool, laid back, and my kid loves them, and that's fine. So I don't want to put us all in a box and have to do the same thing, but
yeah, based on the quote, I think the compelling needs are good.
I was gonna say the compelling needs are definitely good. They're best practices for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking some notes on slide 7. So right now I have maybe a fist or a 1, that more direct teacher perspectives are needed to fully represent the teacher voice, not parents for this user. Compelling, you all just said compelling needs are accurate, or I don't know if sufficient would be.
I mean, but there's really not like a whole lot of negatives, so that's good. From the parent's perspective, I mean, they're all very happy with the communication and collaboration. So
I think some teacher empathy interviews need to be completed.
I think the insights are better too, because I remember reading them last night and thinking there was an issue a little bit, but they sound good now. I can't remember what the word was that was driving me crazy, but it was in the parent one, and now that sounds good.
based on the quotes that we have, I'm good with like a 3-4, 6-5. I'd like to see more teacher input, but.
Anyone else want to give their fist to 5?
Guys, I'm here and I'm listening. I just came late to the meeting, so I have no idea where we are with anything. So I apologize.
Do you have the slideshow? Can you see it? We're just giving our teacher feedback on what the other group has worked on. So we're teachers looking at teacher profiles and giving our own feedback.
I guess
Great, thanks.
For time's sake as well, if you've been able to look through this profile, I can't see chat, I guess, where I'm sharing my screen, but if you want to hold up, type in the chat your fist to 5 and we can move through the next profile.
I was actually with the group that created this profile. I can't really see anything, guys. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. I was trying to get here.
Don't worry about it.
You all can, if you can move on to the next one, I'll probably have a little bit more input, but I'm just kind of lost and trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 3-4 on that one. So if you all are good, we'll move.
Yeah, and it was really weird because it was, I don't know, the parents' input for the teacher.
So we have community building common.
I think this one's pretty spot on. I mean, I've worked in both Title I and not Title I school. I will say Title I schools have a lot more support and resources teachers do with how to connect families and get them involved, because it can be really hard, like on the teacher's shoulders, to kind of like bring those families in, and the Family Resource Center really helps to do that by incentivizing it and things. But I think this one's pretty spot on based on the quotes and then the compelling needs, and those needs are, I feel good about those. And the insights are awesome. I think most teachers do desire a relationship with the parents. They don't want to not hear from the parents or them not show up. I think we're like, when we have conferences and 6 out of 24 come, and you're like, ugh, that's never like a good thing. That's always very upsetting.
Sarah, when we share these, are we sharing the quotes? Are we sharing all of this?
Looking ahead to the next step of this, from what I know so far, we'll kind of compact these down into more simplified statements to represent each user. I don't know, transparency wise, what will go out as the background behind those statements. So it very well could.
Do you know if that last quote came from a teacher?
I do not.
I just think if a parent is reading that, it could be taken very negatively as a parent who's often seen as not involved, but maybe they're actually working the afternoon shift and can't make it to our scheduled 3 to 6 conferences, or they're a single mom and have 2 jobs and can't make it to the PTA meetings. And when we say the uninvolved parent, or the parents who are involved and the parents who are not, are the reason for the achievement gap, that's a pretty, just read that and be the mom. I'm a single mom over here, but I'm a teacher, and I try to be the voice for, we are 78 to 80% free and reduced lunch. We have lunch at no cost at my school. All of my families coming out of the pandemic are working. It's hard to schedule a time anytime. We could have 2 or 3 days of conferences and still not see all of them. But to put them in an involved and not involved group and then say that's the reason for the achievement gap, I just don't like that statement.
Well, I think too, though, that like, what is their definition of involved?
Yes.
Like, is it volunteering and showing up for everything, or is it the parent that's involved at home reinforcing the teacher saying, you have a test tomorrow, I need you to study, or you need to do this homework, or I see you're great, that kind of involvement. So I don't know what their definition of involved means.
That's too what I appreciate about the compelling needs, that middle in there on this profile, because it also turns it around to saying, as teachers, there's that area of growth where that reflection comes into understand, like the teacher needs to understand those barriers as well to form and foster those partnerships. So that need to me really connected with that quote in particular, because it was turning it off those parents to say the teachers themselves should understand those barriers. So it's almost like if you could draw an arrow and be like,
yes.
But I think that's true. From a public facing,
I just wonder what the public will see and what the news media would pull out. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be negative. We want this to be positive. We want this to be.
I'll touch base with Johnny, but probably more importantly, Tony on the KCAE side of things, and ask for transparency.
And that could be fixed with just a few words to make it not negative, or not being able to take it negatively. But I do agree it goes with the compelling needs. And that is a thing, especially if you're in a Title I school. Sometimes you feel like you're doing you feel like you're doing everything yourself.
So time-wise, if no one has any comments, I'm seeing we have 2 minutes here. 5 to 5, either in the chat or on your screen. What do we think? Okay. Bill, please speak. If I can't see or a chat or something, please speak up if you disagree. But I'm seeing a 4 here. Any comments we want to make sure? Well, I don't know if it's fitting here to put down what you've said, Nora, about that, but I feel like overall, to say, you mentioned like this pretty much captures, I think every one of us could agree that we can see this in the teachers that we know or are. All right, I think we have one more. There's the last one, anonymous. Oh, growth-oriented Georgia.
This one has a lot of really good information in it too. Read these insights. Should we vote or it hasn't been enough time?
If you all would like to.
I don't have any suggestions myself.
I mean, my only question would be whether or not we feel every voice has been represented.
I know we're technically on a new part of this, but did you all want to vote on that third profile really quickly? And
Sure.
yeah, I think, okay.
I think I'm at a 3 because what I was saying before we got cut off was I don't know that everybody experiences being kind of described there or whatever. I don't know what word I'm trying to look for, but does it represent like everyone, I guess, or multiple perspectives? But I would still give it, I think, at least a 3.
So who do you think is left out? Is that kind of where we're going at the end of this? Or do you mean just in that particular profile, I guess is what I'm asking. Like, do you think there's a certain group left out altogether? Or do you think there's a voice left out of that profile?
I would say maybe that profile in particular. And I don't know that there is. I just, want to make sure that all voices are being heard. Like, I don't know that how we would necessarily know who's being represented and who isn't, but since everything is anonymous, but
yeah, that's hard to pick out who said what. Like as a whole, I know that's coming at the end, but I'm wondering if we ever touch on the para-educator, the assistants in our room, the subs, especially like long-term subs covering half of our year, 6 months of the year because of maternity leaves and things like that. And I haven't read much about our counselors or even speech language pathologists. I think we're leaving out quite a few educators that are certified teachers with us. I think we've got the classroom teacher down, but even like in elementary, we have in every level, we have specials teachers who teach like band, art. It's a lot different for them. Are we including them enough? So I do think educator / teacher, we are leaving out people.
Mhm.
I'll make note of that on our slide 7.
Yeah, and even like slide 7 says, I mean, do we have mostly from a classroom teacher perspective, is it mostly elementary? Is it mostly high school? Like, I think even the levels that of a classroom teacher, like what they teach, could give very differing perspectives as well.
While you're taking notes in the classified category in Title I, it's all hands on deck. We use our custodians, we use our lunch ladies, we use check and connect with every human in the building. So if we're gonna do any more interviews, I don't wanna leave them out. Does that make sense? I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but first thing in the morning, Mr. Danny is waiting at the door to welcome every student that walks through that door. He's our head custodian, and he's also there at lunch, and he's also there as they leave for recess, he goes home. So, I mean, there's a lot of people we haven't even touched on, and I think the classified category would be where they fall in. And some of our teachers in our building are classified, paid is classified, but filling a teacher role. And I know their voice would want to be heard.
I second everything you just said, because we do the same thing. Our paras work like our custodians, they don't just do what their job description is, for sure. A lot more involved with students in the process than people know.
It says for part 2, we're supposed to look back at the Padlets. Does anybody have the link? Never mind, I see it. Never mind, my bad.
I saw the Spanish, but I couldn't find
the Padlets. Like if you go to slide 19, you'll see Padlet 9, which is probably the teacher Padlet. It's up at the top.
Gotcha. I'm curious too, if we go through these Padlets, like if we could identify possibly through context some of those classified perspectives. I don't know how possible that is, especially in the time that we have, but there may be some giveaways. I think that's huge for who we're missing though.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're supposed to be looking at the Padlets and seeing if there's any quotes that we think should be included, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Like especially ones that you think shouldn't go unseen or mentioned in some profile somewhere.
Right. Okay.
Nora, if you don't mind to hit record, I just realized that thinking myself. Oh, you're muted.
I am recording, sorry. It says pause or stop, so it's going.
Sorry, it says recording paused on my end, and I thought that meant in general. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
So I was looking at the Spanish speaking one. We're like almost like a full EL school population. The one where it says, I feel like this quote needs to be included in the family engagement. We have to reach out to them in their own language. We must understand their culture as the practices and perspectives. Without training on this, it's impossible for our student and families to feel more engaged and engage more. This is so instrumental in our schools that are like every school. I mean, in Boone County, which is where I'm at, like the population of EL just increases in every school. But like with our school specifically, it's almost all EL. It is so, teachers are feeling so overwhelmed because sometimes they'll go to interact with a student and they don't understand why the student's interacting in a different way. So there needs to be like, we are trying to build teacher culture training, like on what are our cultures in the building? How can we train our teachers on what these kids' cultures are and how they interact? Like we have a huge Muslim population and they were going through Eid. And so not eating during lunchtime because they didn't eat when the sun, and providing a different opportunity for them to go somewhere and play games and stuff during lunch instead of sitting there and watching everyone else eat. So that's huge. I feel like this quote is huge. And families, it is so hard. We have 17 languages in our building. How do you reach out to these families? I mean, anytime we send home any kind of letter, we have to translate it in all these languages, and it's not easy. Like our district is at kind of like just pulling anything and everything they can. We do have translators. Sometimes you can't get translators in that, even dialect of French. Like we have French, but it's Congolese French. So it's very hard for schools to support our English learners, especially with family engagement.
Shay, it may be easiest if you have that quote in front of you, if you can copy and paste it into 45.
Yes. Okay. Where do we paste it?
Slide 45.
Okay. And then just say that it's for family engagement teacher role.
I think so.
Okay.
Listening to what you just said, do you Did we include that? Is it not a matter of just sending an interpreter or translating documents? We have to truly show that we welcome people from other countries and who speak different language.
Yeah.
It was the very last one. I mean, that one, I'm somebody who
I didn't get that far.
works on that one myself. Like, I can interpret and do some things in Spanish. So parents know that and reach out to me, and I know what a difference it makes. I can't imagine having the challenge of doing that in 17 languages, but it's not just about interpreting. It's just creating that connection and making them feel like they are important and they do matter. And there's a language.
It's so huge, and our teachers are not prepared for it. There's no training.
And when you were talking about that, we have students who come because we are right there at a campus, and we had a group that does not look an adult woman in the eye because it's disrespectful. They were raised that way. It's disrespectful, especially if they're in trouble. And we had to just point that out more than once at a faculty meeting, because there were a couple of teachers who would not get past them not looking them in the eye when they were talking to them. But they were raised like that since birth. So when they get to 4th and 5th grade, it's ingrained in them. They can't just stop doing it. So
and it's our teachers don't and it's not, I don't think that they don't want to.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Appreciate it. And even our classified and our office staff, we were so excited. We just hired a secretary who's fluent in Congolese, French, and Spanish.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, she's gonna greet everybody at the door. This is gonna be fantastic. Because it's hard for them to engage when they don't feel like it's appreciative of their culture. Having events during a time when a major religion in the school is like, spending their time at home celebrating something, or it's tough.
I'm in Western Kentucky, and I just implemented in 1st grade one year that we did some Hispanic traditions at Christmas, and then we celebrated the Cinco de Mayo. And at the end of the year, I'd never had such good teacher feedback to my principal, because for the first time that those families felt included. And it was not any harder than what I usually do. It was just at the beginning of the year doing a parent survey and seeing who's included in your group and making sure you include that in your lesson plans throughout the year. But if that's never brought to your attention,
you don't know,
training or a conversation like this, then you might not think to do that. But there's a lot in that Spanish note taking. I hope it doesn't go away, that we probably could have pulled out, but that last one hit me the hardest, and I'm actively trying to be better. You guys have been great to work with.